Good morning everyone and welcome back to a brand new video of Fox Flicks on Popcross Studios. And welcome back to Mytholethal Pantheon Repos Act 2, Part 3, The Domain of Chaos. Let's hop in and check it out.
In today's episode of Mytholethal Pantheon Reapers, I will be continuing my ongoing mythology-fueled adventure series, while drawing mostly original characters today, but with one more Egyptian myth worked in. And if you haven't watched this series and you want to be caught up on it, I will link the full playlist for the series in the cards and the description. But as a reminder, here's what previously happened on Mytholethal Pantheon Reapers. Ordis, the Archon Kaijagrex, Dresden, and Astra were all dragged into Set's domain, an Egyptian god of chaos, sandstorms, earthquakes, among other things, who seems to be working for Tarsa's variant of Anubis from her Imperium Pantheon, the series villains who are attempting to overthrow multiple different universes of the multiverse, with the end goal of taking over the entire thing in Tarsa's name. Ordis was separated from the others when he appeared in Set's domain and was simply hovering on one of his shields, but he quickly found Kaijagrex and the two of them went looking for the others. In the midst of doing that, they got into an argument about where Kaijagrex's allegiance lie, and how Ordis thinks that he shouldn't be so loyal to Eldrorok, the leader of the Archons. They didn't have time to come to a conclusion in that argument as they were interrupted by a titanic snake bursting up out of the ground. The beast attacked them, and that's where we left off, so let's see what happened next, shall we? Let's go.
Hit like if you want, subscribe if you feel like it, but either way, enjoy the show. Here we go.
Ordis flew back to get a better look at the colossal snake swimming through the
Oh yeah, this is our first time actually seeing adult Ordis. Because yeah, we always saw him like this throughout the original series. And we've only seen this pretty much headshot of adult Ordis. Well, no, I shouldn't say adult, I should say mature. Because that actually fits better.
Whirling stone and sand constructing the chaotic ground of Set's domain. Kaijagrex did the opposite, soaring closer to the beast and hammering it in the face. Under the strength of the Archon's strike, the snake's jaw immediately snapped out of place, then its head swung back and slammed down into the rocks. For a brief second, it looked like Grex had ended the battle before it began, but the snake simply dove back into the ground, only to burst up, jaw back in place, and snatch Grex's legs and its fanged teeth. The snake yanked down, but Grex barely moved.
Cute! You actually think you can do anything to an Archon, huh?
The snake
chomped. I mean, it's probably a mindless beast, so it's just attacking.
Down harder, and one of its teeth actually managed to break through Grex's armor and puncture his skin.
Okay.
Still, the Archon gave no sign of concern, aside from the clear irritation still decorating his face from the chat he'd been having with Ordis moments ago. The snake swung its head down, and surprisingly, this time Grex was yanked down with it. The snake slammed Grex into the churning ground and released him. The Archon was battered and pulled down under the grinding stones of the earth, but quickly exploded up through them with musty yellow fumes spilling between his teeth. Surprising Ordis once more, the giant serpent spoke.
No matter what manner of being you are, well, in the domain of chaos, you will always be out of your element.
Grex shook his head.
Who is this snake?
Again, Archon here, Slithers. This whole multiverse is my element.
He let loose an explosive beam of golden energy from his maw. It tore right through the serpent's lower jaw. Ordis quickly hurled one of his shields down into the path of the beam after it burst through the serpent, and angled it to make the beam bounce off the shield and explode up through the snake's side as well.
Good thinking.
It gave Ordis flashes back to a world he'd lived in a few centuries back in Dimension Y470. It was a realm rampant with sorcerers, where Ordis and Mythal had become friends with that realm's overseer, Tahim. His go-to move was to use beam attacks, similar to what Grex was using, and Ordis would often deflect the beams at other foes as they passed through their targets.
Good thinking.
With a whole circuit of shields, Ordis had once caused one of Tahim's beams to blow through 23 enemy soldiers, though those foes were much less resilient than this serpent. Chunks of flesh and viscera tore and splattered off of the snake. But as soon as Grex stopped firing, the splattered flesh...
So wait, is this just going to be a one-piece episode with just 3 aspects? Yes, it is. Okay, I can accept that.
Swirled back around through the sand and
it's what he's chosen to do, so it's perfectly fine.
And flew right back into place, merging once again with the serpent's flesh. The snake chuckled.
Destruction of the flesh means little to a god of destruction, especially in Set's domain of chaos. Chaos belongs to me just as much as it does Set.
It swung its head up and smashed
Another
Grex
god
with its
of chaos,
nose.
it seems.
Kaijagrex spun backwards and struggled to catch himself. Ortis hurled a shield out behind him to help steady him. Grex didn't acknowledge the help, then spat another beam and carved straight through the snake's neck. It would have cut the beast's head clean off,
Decapitation?
but the flesh healed as the beam tore through.
damn
Grex
it.
stopped firing and furiously slammed a fist against his own stomach.
Oh, the
As he pulled
decapitation.
his fist back, 7 gold orbs sprang out of him, floated in the air for a moment, then soared towards the snake's open maw. 3 soared down its throat before it clamped its mouth shut, but the rest flew right into its nostrils.
Kinda glad you thought you actually had a chance here.
Grex snarled.
'Cause now I get to blow your pea-sized mind.
The serpent's head and the top 15 feet of its neck exploded
Phrasing,
in a
but
rapid
okay.
sequence of 7 eruptions. Unfortunately, Grex didn't even have a second to enjoy the damage done, before the serpent's flesh soared through the air towards the Archon. It reformed
what?
into a head, biting right down onto Grex's body.
Oh,
Before Grex
disgusting.
could pull free, the snake chomped down
An epic.
hard, and once again, its teeth and fangs punctured his flesh. Ortis was concerned that one had actually hurt. Grex's expression certainly suggested it had. Still, Grex started to transform, growing to 10 times his size, turning into his true Archon form, easily
Archon
forcing
form.
the beast's jaw to open. Grex was nearly as large as the snake now, and with his own mighty jaws, bit the top of the snake's head off, chewing for a few seconds, then swallowing it.
Oh, you swallowed.
There,
Why?
get your bits back now.
He sneered. Unfortunately, red and black mist suddenly spilled out of Grex's pores, swirling together, and once more reformed the missing parts of the snake's flesh. Kaijagrex returned to his human form as the serpent taunted him.
Tear my scales, spill my blood, break me apart inch by inch, and I will still reform. I cannot be destroyed here.
Okay, well, if it's meant to be a god of chaos, there is one thing that could damage it. Ordo. The thing is, though, is that I have no idea how you would be able to do something like that. You could try with harmony, but you'd have to sing, so...
Contrarily, you are already
Well, man.
on your way to surrendering your form to the new Anubis' army, Archon.
Grex looked at the bite marks across his body and could see black veins streaking out from them.
So what, you poisoned me enough to weaken me before your master comes out to actually take me on?
Set is no master of mine.
The snake snapped.
Oh.
We simply came to an arrangement after centuries of pointless battle. But yes, when I've had my fun, Set will finish you off in the name of an Anubis who is actually worthy of our allegiance.
Ooh.
Very interesting.
Very
Ortis
interesting.
thought. This serpent was clearly this dimension's variant of Apep, the beast or god who, in many realms, has daily battles with the god Ra. In these battles, Ra is often aided by Set. Considering Ra had already
Right.
been killed and resurrected as an undead minion of Tarsa's Anubis, it seemed this realm's Set wasn't loyal to Ra anymore. That wasn't entirely uncommon.
Yeah.
Many variants of Set are unpredictable and often turn against Ra and the other gods of the Egyptian pantheon. Grex was clearly moving
Every pantheon is always interesting to learn about.
slower than before, but shook himself off and soared towards the snake, snatching its fangs and tearing them from its maw, just to slam them down into the top of its own head. The teeth simply shot through its flesh out of Grex's grip and moved back into place in its mouth,
God
before
dang!
the snake snatched Grex's arm and once more pierced his flesh, likely injecting more venom. Grex punched the snake's head, but it moved
Grex, keep your damn distance!
far less than the first time he'd struck it. Apep swung his head back and struck Grex again, sending him spinning towards the churning stones below. Ortis sent a shield down to catch him and used it to pull him closer, away from the snake. Kaijagrex, if we get some space, I can clear your blood of
You think I need your help?
I'm offering
Grex
it,
growled.
dude. We're working
Grex
together.
flapped his wings and soared off the shield. Ortis withheld,
Ugh,
rolling his
Grex.
eyes, thinking the Archon was simply being petty about their chat before the snake appeared. But then Grex locked eyes with Ortis and, surprisingly calmly, said,
You can't seriously underestimate me that much.
They held eyes for a moment,
Huh.
and Ortis understood. Grex's calm look faded again as he turned back to Apep, just in time for him and Ortis to see a partially cybernetic steaming dragon soaring down to dig its talons into the serpent's neck.
Ooh, we got some backup. Badass looking Ortis. Like, honestly, this is badass.
Astra flapped her wings hard and
I
yanked.
do still wish he had that bow from the original Mytholethal series. But I can understand he probably doesn't want to use it and relies more on the shields. Okay, no, I don't understand. Where the hell is the bow? I don't remember.
The snake up, pulling much of its body out of the ground. It tried to snap its jaws at her, but she bounded her tail around its mouth and held it tightly shut. Ortis was impressed with Astra's strength, but before she got the beast all the way into the air, the swirling sands around her suddenly started blowing far faster. Astra's wings were caught in the rush, and she was hurled to the side. She tried to hold tight to the serpent, but the beast took its opportunity to yank its head down, pulling disoriented Astra with it, slamming her into the rocks below. She was able to kick back up into the air before being pulled under, but she lost her grip. Opep snapped his jaws for Astra's leg, but Ortis had already gotten his shields close to her and put one on either side of the snake's closing jaws, keeping it from biting down as Astra flew back up into the air away from the snake.
Get whatever the inverse of a vice grip is.
Grex rolled his eyes.
Keep Tarsa's little gremlin from getting poisoned, would you, Phonemo?
Grex flew back over and started hammering his fists into the serpent's head over and over and over, before the snake raised its tail out of the swirling ground. Watching more carefully now, Ortis saw that Grex clearly clocked the tail coming up behind him and let himself get struck. He started to spin out, only for the snake to snap its teeth at Grex again. Unexpectedly, though, Astra flew in and snatched Grex, pulling him out of the path of the bite. Honestly, I know you Archons think you're way more powerful than you actually are, but I would have expected you to handle a grumpy little reptile a little better than this, Astra said, shaking her head. Grex yanked himself free from her.
Not gonna hesitate to take some swings at you if you get in my way. Make me do it too much and there won't be enough of you left to crawl back to let my traitor sister lick your wounds.
Oh, trust me, when I get home, it's not gonna be my wounds that she's gonna... Before Astra could finish that thought, Ortis's shields thumped into her side and pushed her back, just before Opep's...
Careful what you're saying, there might be kids about.
He could snatch her from below. Ortis analyzed the situation. Given the wind kicking up to stop Astra from pulling Opep out of the ground, Set is likely watching from somewhere helping. Grex's plan is likely to lure Set out, but there's no way to tell Astra that Grex has a plan without risking Set finding out about it. I don't know if Grex is faking it that Opep's poison is actually slowing him down, or if he has a plan to recover from it when Set shows up, but either way, if Astra gets bit, it likely will affect her much more severely and quickly. Best to get her away from Opep for now. Ortis flew on his shield closer to Astra, while Grex was diving into the ground intentionally to try and take swipes at the snake from below. Ortis got up next to Astra before she could dive into battle again. Astra, have you seen Dresden? I'm pretty sure he got pulled in here with us. He can't fly like the rest of us, so this place could be a lot more dangerous for him. I'm sure he's fine. He's nothing if not durable. Even if he is getting chewed up by the ground, he's basically a bunch of moving rocks himself. Like a family reunion. That was surprisingly cruel and dismissive from someone who seemed to care deeply about her team, thinking she was nothing like Tarsa. Perhaps whatever it had been alluded to that Dresden had done in his past, that Astra, while Grex was diving into the ground intentionally to try and take swipes at the snake from below. Ortis got up next to Astra before she could dive into battle again. Astra, have you seen Dresden? I'm pretty sure he got pulled in here with us. He can't fly like the rest of us, so this place could be a lot more dangerous for him. I'm sure he's fine. He's nothing if not durable. Even if he is getting chewed up by the ground, he's basically a bunch of moving rocks himself. Like a family reunion. That was surprisingly cruel and dismissive from someone who seemed to care deeply about her team, thinking she was nothing like Tarsa. Perhaps whatever it had been alluded to that Dresden had done in his past that the team had forgiven him for, hadn't actually been forgiven by everyone. Well, even still, with Grex distracting Opep, we should focus on finding him.
Oh, you don't need to go looking too far for Oakland.
A voice suddenly echoed around them.
I've got him right here with me. Fascinating little brain rattling around in his head. Chaotic memories. An impressive amount of disorder brought by claiming to try and seek the opposite.
Oh crap.
Ortis looked around, but as expected saw nothing. The voice didn't seem to be coming from any place in particular. It was like it was everywhere, engulfing them.
Outside of the realm.
What has you convinced that working with Tarsus Anubis is in your best interest?
Because our Anubis was so boring in comparison. The dead are much more fun when their rotting forms are free to scour the earth and torment the living. Order has reigned for far too long in my world.
So apparently this set loves chaos even more than normal.
Care not for Tarsa, or even the well-being of this new Anubis, but his presence breeds chaos. Chaos is what I want.
Yep.
Ortis nodded,
chaos
thinking
a hell
to
of a lot
himself.
more.
Get ready, Grex. I'm gonna give you a hand luring this guy out. Ortis said, it must be difficult being a god of chaos, knowing full well that chaos doesn't really exist.
Oh, doesn't it? What do you call this?
I mean, he actually does have a point. I mean, chaos is just the absence of order, and order is the absence of chaos. If there is no order, there is no chaos. And if there is no chaos, there is no order. It's like the whole thing of light and dark. There cannot be light without dark. Good and evil, sorry. It's like the saying of good and evil. There cannot be good without evil, and there cannot be evil without good. Both must exist to, well, exist.
Sound exploded up from beneath Ortis and Astra. Ortis used his shields to shove Astra up farther out of the way as the winds rocked and swirled around him more fiercely. He was hurled off the shield he stood on, but swung it up around his back, then gripped onto it as stones and sand battered his face. Barely able to keep his eyes open, Ortis replied, What, a storm? A storm isn't chaos, it's part of the natural order of the world for storms to come and go. The wind rocked up even more and a boulder slammed into Ortis, knocking him into another. He called back one of the shields he'd used to help Astra. If he could touch his Overseer runes, he could split the shield up into many more, but he couldn't release his grip. He did his best to use the shield to protect himself, but was pummeled more and more by rocks, as Seth
damn it,
said.
it's kinda hot.
And what if I will the storm to never die? Is that then of the natural order? I think not.
Jupiter would like to say yes.
Of course it is. You yourself will eventually come and go. Nothing immortal is truly immortal as far as our physical reality goes. Whip up your storm more fiercely, make it into a hurricane like nothing I've ever seen, and that won't make it proof of chaos. Because even
Hell, make it a Cat 6 if you want.
while I'm in the storm, feeling its effects, it doesn't change the fact that I know as well as you likely do that chaos is simply order being looked at too closely. Observe a storm from afar and you can see the beautiful patterns its clouds create. The rains bring life to trees, even the trees that are torn from their roots eventually fall to rot and bring life to new trees. Chaos is a myth. Always has been and it always will be. The rocks around Ortis pulled back, but the wind ripped up harder. Ortis couldn't hold onto his shield anymore and was sent spinning around in a circle in a vortex of sand.
Oh, damn it!
The form of Set finally
got
appeared,
twisted!
hovering in the center of that vortex, holding Dresden by his neck, awake but seeming to have no strength to try and free himself.
And what of this one's actions? What of the genocide brought by his hands? What order do you find in that chaos,
Genocide? Ortis replied curiously,
Like,
struggling to
what?
speak over the rushing wind. The storm finally slowed enough for him to get his largest shield back under himself and crouch on top of it, gripping it with one hand to steady himself.
Alright, okay. What are you talking about?
Oh, do you?
Set pulled Dresden closer, turning him to look into his eyes.
You didn't tell him, did you? I saw as much in your mind. So scared of who else may learn, who else may seek vengeance. You got lucky that Kate didn't hold a grudge. You got lucky that Alcea was topped down so easily. What, will you get lucky again? How many times can you walk away unscathed,
Set
As many
aimed
times as the
Dresden's
plot
face
wants.
at Ortis again as he said,
Surprising to have two overseers here in my domain, with so few of you left, considering what this one did to them. Why don't you tell him, Oakland? See if he can find the order in the chaos you brought the multiverse.
Ooh. And now it's time to see the snake. We've seen Set last episode if you didn't check that out. Now
Dresden
the snake.
looked exhausted, too exhausted to fight back. Ortis considered trying to fight the god himself, but knew combat wasn't his strong suit, especially against Set in his own domain. Plus, Ortis was ravenously curious to hear what Dresden had done. Set shook Dresden, and finally, he spoke.
Okay.
I killed the Overseers. Over 16,000 of them in a single day.
Damn.
Tarsa had...
I mean, no matter how many times we hear of what he did, it's just still damn.
The overseer of my own world over 6,000 years ago and tormented my realm. He used it as a plaything before cursing it to have the multiverse's Reaper at the time set upon it. Only to force me to take on the role of overseer so she could flee and evade punishment.
Damn,
the Reaper
Tulsa.
took some slight pity on me and let me live, but still wiped out every other living being in my world. After that, I spent thousands of years concocting a plan to kill the overseers.
The back cells.
Then did so. Most, not all, but most. Any that I could, regardless of whether I knew for certain they were acting cruelly towards the universe they oversaw or not.
Ordis paused for a moment, thinking of all the overseers he'd been friends with in his long life. He thought of Tahim. What about Dimension
Have you been? Oh.
Y470? Did you kill that realm's overseer? Dresden's eyes, full of fear and regret, met Ordis's for only an instant before they fell.
Yes, that realm is familiar enough that I am certain whoever was the overseer of it at the time was slain by me that day.
So Tahim was gone. Ordis glanced back at Set, but then refocused on Dresden. Killing thousands with no care for those killed or the loved ones affected certainly sounds like something that would spawn great chaos. But, frankly, on a broad spectrum, overseers are more of a nuisance to their worlds than a help. So, while I can't say I approve of the act in the long run, it absolutely is something that will only increase order in the multiverse.
What?
Set snarled furiously. Ordis shrugged. Like I said, chaos is just order being looked at too closely. In the short term, mass deaths seem to cause chaos, and I'd always stop them if able. But, in the grand scheme, lessons learned from them and the resilience built in those who survive just furthers peace and order. Besides, the first time I communed with the Archons many millennia ago, Eldrorok told me that he essentially created overseers, knowing their power would be abused to torment their realms anyway. In the long term, the multiverse having fewer of them is a good thing in my opinion. I once considered trying to find a way to rid the multiverse of them myself after seeing what many chose to do with their abilities.
How would you go about that?
I wasn't willing to go so far as mass genocide, and obviously don't endorse the act.
I mean, I guess you could just take the Overseal powers from them, but as you are already an Overseal, would that even be possible?
Still, look at it from afar and all chaos turns to order. Even the supposed chaos of this storm you concocted has surely given my allies outside of it time to get a plan in order. Set gritted his teeth and waved an arm to part the swirling sand and stones. When the sand cleared, Kaijagrex was daintily flapping his wings, the blackened veins from his wounds completely faded. Held up in a single hand was Apep, bound around himself in multiple knots, with Astra sitting in her human form on his head, with a mechanical tail bound around the serpent's mouth.
We good to go. I got sand and crevices I didn't know I had.
Oh, don't talk about your crevices.
Before Set could get the storm raging up again, in a blink, Kaijagrex flew over and snatched Set's throat with his free claw, still holding Apep and Astra. Ordis flew over and grabbed Grex's arm. With his Archon abilities easily overriding Set's lock on his domain, Grex transported all of them just outside of Duat Tower in Cairo. Grex shoved Set backwards, then grabbed Apep's head.
Let's see if you're still indestructible out here.
Astra leapt off as Grex tore the snake's head effortlessly from its body.
Well, got anything to say now?
The beast's jaw trembled, but then fell silent, as it dropped from Grex's hands to the ground.
It's dead.
Astra rolled her eyes at him. Great, now we can just wait for him to get resurrected as Anubis' minion, because nothing can die in this realm right now, remember?
Oh.
Grex swung back a leg and kicked the serpent's head so hard that it fired off into the sky, hurtling down the street and vanishing into the smoky, sandy shroud engulfing the city.
Maybe he will, but his body and head are gonna have to find each other first if they want to be any real trouble.
Oh,
Set immediately tried to pull Dresden's head off, but the stones that formed Dresden's head simply split apart, revealing a glowing pink energy construct beneath. Before Set could figure out a way to actually kill Dresden, Ortis smashed one of his shields into the god's face while lowering another behind Set's leg to make him trip backwards. As the god hit the ground, Ortis slammed one of his largest shields
Looney Tunes as hell!
right down into the god's neck. It wasn't enough to kill him, but he gagged and choked. The shroud started to swirl into a more furious storm above, but before it became too much, Kaijigrex grabbed Set and tore him in half. He hurled one half of the slain god's body in one direction and the other in the opposite. At least for now, Set would no longer be a problem for them.
Alright, guys.
Dresden was slumped on the ground as his head reformed in place. He still looked exhausted and like he didn't want to get up, but Ortis held out a hand to him. "You okay, Dresden?" Dresden looked up at Ortis, searching his expression for any sign of resentment or judgment.
Come on, man.
I presume you know, or knew, the Overseer of Y470? Possibly many more Overseers, given how long you've lived and how many realms you've visited in that time.
You know, I don't remember if it was said, but how old is Ortis and Mythil?
Dresden
I know they've been alive for a long time, but has it been said?
wasn't taking his hand to get up, so Ortis just sat down next to him. Yeah, Tahim was his name. Odds are you also killed my friends Jalake of T948 and Felicia of R777? Maybe more?
Dresden shuddered. Both those dimensions were on the list of ones whose overseers I killed, yes.
Ortis shrugged. Well, for all I know,
happens.
they might have been replaced before you killed the Overseers, but you know what I've learned is for certain true about death after being alive for 10,000 years, Dresden?
Oh, well, there we go. Oh, so that means even with the whole thing Dresden did, they were alive for at least 4,000 years.
What? Ortis shrugged.
Wow.
Almost nothing, really, except for the fact that it definitely is not the end. Frankly, wherever Tahim and the other Overseers are that you killed, they could very well be having a better time than we're having here. If I had known you at the time you were trying to kill the Overseers, yes, I absolutely would have tried to stop you and likely would have killed you in an effort to stop you if need be. While I don't know what death holds for us, I do know that I like helping others avoid pain while they're alive, and that many people dying surely caused a lot of pain for the people who lost those they cared about as a result of your actions.
It's a shame, but it happens.
Also done, so it wouldn't do much good to resent you for it or kill you over it now. You don't seem to be causing pain to anyone in the present, and you're helping us defeat people who are. But
not just that, he also found the RAS Foundation. He's trying to help redeem others.
frankly, I am also a bit biased because, again, despite being an overseer myself, I can't pretend to be bothered by the fact that they're not as prevalent of a thing in the multiverse anymore. You definitely killed some people who, themselves, have killed and tormented way more people than you, and likely would have continued to do so for centuries if you hadn't put a stop to them.
Oh,
you
yeah.
may have hurt many people, but I guarantee there are also many realms that are far better off now thanks to your actions. Dresden actually managed a slight smirk hearing that.
You know, as much as I do not like admitting it, I envy you and Mythil. I lived 6,000 years, spending much of that time angrily concocting a plan to murder thousands out of vengeance for what Tarsa did to my world. Meanwhile, you two have lived far longer lives, gallivanting around on adventures that sound both genuinely thrilling and enjoyable, while also much more directly helping others than my actions did.
It was all nice.
I could have been living a grand life as you two have, and essentially chose not to out of bitterness and...
Well, I wouldn't just say bitterness. I would say it's also the fact that you were left alone in a dead world. I mean, you even said yourself, Tulsa was torturing the hell out of your dimension. The Reaper came. She forced the powers onto you and said, peace. And then the Reaper was just like, well, I'm not going to kill you because you're not the overseer that did all these crimes. But I still have to wipe everything from this realm. Leaving you literally in a dead world. So you had no one to talk to, no friends, no allies, no family. You literally were in the worst possible place anyone could have been in.
Obsession.
Ortis stood up. Well, you're on a thrilling and enjoyable adventure helping others right now. so not much use ruining it by ruminating on all the time you spent not doing stuff like this, right?
And that.
Dresden's smirk grew into what appeared to be the biggest smile Dresden could bear, which wasn't much, but it was a clear sign Ortis's words had sunk in as intended. Dresden took his hand and rose. "Thank you, Ortis." Ortis nodded, but then promptly looked around. He realized there was no sign of the rest of their group. Had they moved into Duat Tower to find Anubis, or had Ra and Bastet been a bigger challenge than expected? Their next move was to regroup, but once they'd done so safely, Ortis was still eager to continue the little chat he'd been having with Kaijagrex before they were interrupted.
Figured out just well his loyalty lies. The man that created/killed him. What a family that will take him and love him.
At least for now, Set would no longer be a problem for them.
What the hell was
Honestly,
that?
for the first couple episodes of Pantheon Reapers, I haven't been super thrilled with my rendering because in Art and Antics, I've been experimenting with lots of different art styles and trying to figure out how I want to do my art style moving forward in projects like this. But I think I figured it out today. We got a bit of my old style in there, a little bit of Marvel Rivals, a little bit of Genshin Impact, and I think this looks sick, and I'm super excited to do more art like this. By the way, if you haven't been watching Art and Antics, I highly recommend checking it out. It's even got Benny Sharp and the Panini Trio in there now.
Look at that.
Vasilia? Is that you in there now?
I am indeed. Benjamin taught me how to take on this form. I quite like it. He says we can share now and then, so I can be part of this art
Okay, I'm gonna be watching that while I'm doing the edits for these videos.
and Antic series as well.
Yeah, this is gonna be great. It looks like I can get anyone in on this body.
Oh, great.
Hey, Shimp, you wanna try this out? What? The flip? I'll have the playlist link in the cards and the description.
Nice.
But besides that, that's all for today, except of course we're ending this video on some kind of positive or
inspiring
inspiring
note.
note. And the thought I want to leave people with today is something that I've learned firsthand, which is that overcoming disappointment and continuing to move forward is a muscle that you build. There are plenty of times where I make something
So we all pretty much told that audio issue, right? Because that wasn't my system. I think that was on him.
that I think is going to do significantly better than it does, and it doesn't, and it's disappointing, but in the past, way earlier in my career, that would have been something that was just devastating and made me spiral and think, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? I could have sworn, well, what if this, what if that, blah, blah, blah. And when you haven't built up that muscle yet, you can end up defeating yourself because disappointment pushes you to just give up. But every time disappointment does come up for you, something doesn't go the way you want, just try to remember that that is you building the muscle of overcoming disappointment and not allowing yourself to defeat yourself because of the disappointment. You're building a muscle and it will get stronger every time you use it. I hope that's an inspiring reminder. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video on Monday. Goodbye.
Alright, well, there we go. Alright, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of you next time when we flick back on. Until then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.